Hey, Shamia girl. So we got two things that we got to talk about today. So I want you guys to, let's just go ahead and dive on in. So Shamia, she posts to her YouTube as I think most of these ladies should be doing. Okay. Especially you, Drew, right now. We've already gone through what I think you should be doing. And again, it would be super easy to set all that up. It would be super easy. Like, it don't take a lot to get it done, right? I mean, it does take some effort, but it don't take, what you think maybe it will take. And I think you could do very well over there. But anyway, Shamia is doing exactly what I think she should be doing, which is posting. But what Shamia does that I think is interesting is the focus isn't necessarily on the girls specifically. It's not like a speak on it, right? Whereas I felt like a speak on it, or maybe like a Dr. Heavenly's recap, is like a direct recap of the show. It is more lifestyle related content, which I can actually appreciate because I want to see more of Shamia's lifestyle. I want to see, yes, girl, show me that entire closet. All right, show it to me. Show all of it, but maybe not too much because, I just be feeling like sometimes people be like, sometimes people be looking with the evil eye, right, at your stuff. So be cautious of that. But outside of that, I do like seeing the glam and the preparation in this clip. She is basically getting ready to go film a confessional. The one where she's in the silver top, the one that has gone viral where she was doing all of this, right? So she's preparing for that and she's talking to, I'm assuming, her stylist who is on the phone. And I think that the thing that I've come to see or realize about Shamia is that Shamia, much like what I think probably happens with Giselle, is using items that she already has in her closet as her for her confessionals. Now, I could be wrong. Now, these could be items that are picked out by the stylist and they are just hanging around in the wardrobe. But she's, clearly, and maybe all of the ladies do it. I don't really know. Some are clearly working with a stylist that is getting the clothes specifically for them. And then some, I think, are just maybe pulling from their own wardrobe. I don't know. I don't know. But the thing that's interesting in this clip about Shamia is that she is saying that the girls are making it seem like she is coming across like a bitch this season. And I can sort of see the itchiness. You know what I'm saying? I can see how some of her commentary about like, nah, like, trying to hold Phaedra and Angela accountable for publicly letting the group know how they came back together. I think that did come across a little snippety. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's not necessary, right? There's necessary accountability, as in holding somebody accountable for maybe what they said about you or what they said in the scene, right? The subtle way that Angela told Phaedra and Portia about what Kelly called her, that's sort of a way to be a bit more like subtle about being a bone collector, but also acting just so curious as to why it happened in the first place. That doggone Angela. So I think that the title of the video I watched the entire thing, is called 10 Toes Down. And the stylist basically tells her to stand 10 toes down in just whatever she says or does. That's really my only critique for Shamia, is to stand 10 toes down in it, whether it makes you look like the villain or whatever the case may be. Just stand 10 toes down in it and you can't go wrong. The people are going to either love you or loathe you regardless. And a lot of them have already made up their minds what they think. And you probably won't change a lot of those opinions. So what you need to do now is just appeal to the core base that you have and stand on 10 toes about what you think, and not try to worry about pleasing anybody else, because at the end of the day, baby, you is rich. And I'm not saying that that's everything in life, but the idea behind this is, and the stylist basically says, there's not much that you have to do on this show, because if you wanted to walk away from this show, you, and maybe unlike everybody else, would be just fine. Okay? You would be just fine. So own that, okay? Don't be like Sutton and be the girl who's trying too hard, who's got all the money in the world, doesn't really need the show, doesn't really need those girls, but Sutton probably was never the cool girl, and this is her opportunity to try to be one of them, knowing and unknowingly losing all of her magic in the process. That's something I want to tell y'all. Don't try to be like everybody else. Do your own thing. March to the beat of your own weird drum, okay? Because trying to be like everybody else will just make you bland and boring, okay? It really will. That's what I end up telling. Well, I kind of tell people that in my masterclass. We had a masterclass last night, y'all. Ooh, that thing was good. If you are trying to grow and monetize your content, and you have not dropped into one of these masterclasses, I might do one more for the month, but then I got a bigger plan for my people. Okay, I got a bigger plan. So hop in on it when I post the link. I'll go ahead and do it. Because it's just so much fun for me. I be like literally living for it and exhausted when I'm done. Let's get into the other thing that I want to talk about, because I think that this is also very, very interesting. Shout out to Carlos King. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Dustin. And shout out to Claudia. You know, they recap the shows on Monday nights. They have Monday Night Live, and I think it starts at 7. At 7 on Mondays, I'm usually in a meeting. I'm usually in a launch call for my travel membership. So that's typically why I'm not able to tune in, because we have a standing Monday night at 7 p.m. So, you know, I'm usually engaged in that, and I'm usually sometimes leading those meetings. So if you're interested in that, shoot me an email at bookings@DJRichieSkye.com. But outside of that, that's why I typically miss it. So I catch the clips. And in this clip, I was, what is today? Thursday? Today's Thursday, I think. So I was taking my walk yesterday when I heard this clip, and, got to get them 12,000 steps in some kind of way. So I was listening to this. I just happened to open up Instagram, and first of all, shout out to Housewives for my housewife for capturing that first story. And shout out to NoChaser_TV and the gang over there. Chase, doing the work. Okay. Claudia says this, and I want to know what your thoughts are. And here's the thing about, for me, why this is even coming up. Because Claudia has been on this show before. She was also just on the episode just recently. She's done a lot of reality TV. So this is something that I truly also trust her opinion on. And it's something that I'm kind of agreeing with. I'm actually not just kind of agreeing with. I am agreeing with. And I told you guys that is one of the biggest reasons why I'm watching the show this season, is because of K. Michelle. Okay. So Claudia goes on to brand K. Michelle the star of the season of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, I want to know if you agree, but let's get into why she says that, because I think that is also, I think she raises some legit concerns and points. Not really concerns, but like just notes for the girls. K. Michelle, and I thought about this yesterday. This could have been the result of how the episode was edited, because at the end of the day, the editors and the producers, the network, the people in charge put together the episode in a way that they do, right? And so, because there was so much K. Michelle, there was a lot of Kelly in this episode, they kind of felt like the driving forces of this episode, and Portia as well, for reasons good and bad, right? But the depth of what we got from K. Michelle in this episode is what Claudia is referring to. From being in the middle of the Portia versus Kelly situation, not really even quite knowing what's going on and kind of bridging the gap, but not trying to overstep in any way, shape, or form, having a general reaction, even getting whiskey from the tea in the tea kettle instead of just tea. I mean, she just has a way, right? And when then you look at what she also gave us, going to this award show and performing, and then the cameras are there to this health emergency for which she talks about. I mean, I don't know if the butt was leaking or if it was she was being drenched in sweat from the infection. Whatever it was, we go behind the scenes to the point where we see the shadow of them air drying her with the blow dryers as she's narrating this harrowing tale of still then getting on the stage and still performing. Then she takes us into the hospital room, okay? She takes us into, or at least one of the room, wherever she was, right? And we hear the doctor talking to her about this, and we see her break down, and we see the transparency, which she has been very transparent over the years about this particular issue anyway, and even had a whole show dedicated to this. But to get that much depth in one episode, it really does make some of the other girls feel like side characters. And again, that also could be the way that the episode was edited, right? Because it was very heavily focused on Kay, Michelle, Kelly, and in my opinion, Portia, right? We got a little bit of Pinky in there, but everybody else in this episode, it almost made you feel like they were all everyone else was kind of like a side dish to the main course, right? And even they compared her to Portia, who, I don't know, a lot of people feel like that Claudia has something against Portia, and I don't think that she does. I just think it's an honest critique, just like my honest critique about Portia and the guy from the last episode, and then now this, her dating Sway. It's kind of like I would have rather you just shown up at your dinner single and reigned over the people like the queen, like that. You know what I'm saying? Be that. You know what I'm saying? Side note: Portia is doing because I ain't a hater. Listen. I'm just gonna say it. She's doing a 3-hour live TikTok today for those of you guys who are interested in following her. So y'all go follow her over there because she was gonna have Cynthia Bailey on there. She's gonna be spilling some tea. So there's that, right? So go support your girl. But I do feel like I like Portia, but I can also still call out what I don't like about something. I didn't like that there was no chemistry between her and Mike, and it seemed like they had just been kind of scheduled to do this thing together. I don't like stuff like that. It just doesn't feel real. I didn't like it just that Kelly had seeming like she had some random guy that she just brought with her. And granted, sometimes you might not just need a random date to an event, but don't bring them onto the show. You know what I'm saying? And then because it makes us feel like you're trying to pull a wool over our eyes, and we don't really like that. We don't. We've seen enough. We've heard enough. But back to what Claudia was saying, it really makes me feel like the rest of the ladies need to step up. Now, here's the thing. There was transparency also with Pinky. There was transparency with Kelly. But I want to see more of what K. Michelle is bringing. I want to see more. I'm going to be doing this. I'm flying here, but I've also got this issue, right? I'm living this lavish lifestyle. The people that are bringing us that kind of element are really, I mean, for what we can see, are K. Michelle, Shamia, Portia, Angela. Cynthia's in and out, so maybe Phaedra. Phaedra can throw an event, but is outside of her funny commentary, like, is she full time? Is she a full time girl at this point? I don't really know. It does make me feel like some people need to step up in the ring because everybody else right now, based on this episode, is really feeling like side characters to K Michelle and maybe Portia's main character energy. But I think the thing about Portia is I think that I feel like sometimes she relies on, as Claudia says, like banging body, big booty, effervescent personality, which is what we want. But is that main character energy? Maybe. Absolutely. It is. It is because she treats herself like a main character. So we'll see. It's an interesting discussion. I love Portia being on the show, but I do think that if I'm looking for a lead, I do feel like K Michelle can fit that persona because I feel like she's willing to give us everything. Not to diminish any of the other ladies who have also given in previous seasons, but I'm looking at this particular season and we're talking about this particular statement after this particular episode. And so I would like to know your opinions based on those things. Okay. Because I know, listen, y'all will go back into the archives, into the history books and pull out things, but I want to know based on what you just saw. Okay. Give me that and then let me know what you guys think. All right. I love these discussions. Honestly, I just feel like the commentary surrounding the show. I mean, I could talk about this for hours. Honestly, I could. Yeah. I'm weird though. I'm weird. Don't be like me. All right, I'm gonna go and try to get at least half of these 12,000 steps in right now. I try to do some physical activity in between every like ounce of work that I have to get done. So here we go. Y'all say a prayer for me and we're going to get it done. All right. That being said, I will catch you guys in the next video.